Welcome to Fanlander's video blog. I'm Christina.
And I'm Brian.
We're here today to discuss how to get the most out of your Walker+stalker convention general admission ticket. Before you attend Walker+stalker convention, you want to do your homework. You want to make sure you know exactly what is going to happen there, what you're going to be doing. You want to plan it out. So I can't stress that enough that you definitely need to do your homework. And James and Eric recommend this as well.
The Walker+stalker+con is born of the fruits of the Walker+stalker+podcast with James and Eric. The podcast began with a trip to Sonoya, Georgia, where James and Eric had the opportunity to view the Walking Dead set and meet the cast and the crew of that incredible show. From that experience, they started the podcast and launched the convention, the Walker+stalker, where they worked to recreate the experience with the cast and crew, along with actors and artists from other zombie shows, movies, and arts. The Walker+stalker convention is a 2-day experience. You can go either Saturday or Sunday or both days. You can get a pass, which will cover 1 day, or the full experience. Now, let's discuss some of the things that you need to know before you go to the convention.
The first thing you want to do to prepare yourself for the Walker+stalker convention is you want to go to the website, which we will list here. Yeah. And you want to check out the survival guide. Okay, so it's a PDF file, you can download it, you can print it out, and you want to just check it out and make sure you're familiar with everything that's going on. On the first page, you basically have info and times. So the days of the show and the times that it's going to be open. And then also you have the events page. So that would be like Night of the Doctor, which went on, I think, Saturday night?
Saturday night with Matt Smith.
Yes.
Karen Gillian.
Yeah, Karen Gillian and Matt Smith. And then you also have your celebrity guests. And your celebrity guests, the information that's listed for that are the autograph times and the days that they're going to be appearing. So not every celebrity appears every single day. So you might have some celebrities on a Saturday, and you might have some other celebrities on a Sunday, or they might appear both days. We also have the convention map, which is the general layout of where everything is going to be, the panel schedule, the days the panel are going to run, and the times. So there's different panels each day. Also, finally, you're going to have the photo ops. So with the photo ops, you're going to have a list of who's doing the photo ops and their time slots.
Let's take a moment to talk about the difference between the autograph and the photo op and some of the pros and cons. With the autograph, you have the choice of getting an autograph, getting a photo op, or an opportunity to take a photo with your own camera with the actor, or both. Okay. Now, usually the autograph is on a pre-done photo that they have. If you take the opportunity to take the picture with them, then you obviously get to use your camera. You can use your phone. A lot of people were using their phones, but some people also brought much better quality cameras, and you have that opportunity. The background isn't controlled or anything like that. And then, of course, you have the opportunity for both. Okay, each of these are for a separate fee. All right, and the fee is determined, and you can find out the fee through the website. Now, for the photo op, it is a professionally posed picture. It's really nice. Within about 10 minutes after taking the photograph, you have the picture, and you can purchase a nice protective cover for the picture as well, which we do recommend. Some of the pros and cons. All right, on the autographs, well, you get an opportunity to spend more time with the star, and the pictures are kind of much more real-time-ish, more live, if you will, interactive. But the line is definitely really long. Okay, for most of the stars that are big name stars, it's really long. Now for the photo op, the opportunity is there for you to spend a short amount of time with the star in the posed picture, and the time in the line is relatively short. You arrive at 15 minutes before, which is the time they recommend in the survival guide, and you're not standing in line that long. However, there is often a kind of ready pose next kind of feel to it. So those are some of the things to think about when you're doing the the photo op, or choosing the photo op and or the autograph session. Now, one final note that I do want to make is if you do the photograph, you can take the photograph and that you have of you, the posed photograph of you and the star, and then go to their line for the autograph, pay for the autograph, and they can autograph that photo as well.
Okay, so for the photo ops and the autographs, I recommend you buy some in advance. You're going to be waiting in lines a lot. You can cut down on having to wait in line to buy a photo op. What I recommend you do is you check the website a couple weeks beforehand and find out when they're going to post the time periods to buy autographs and photo ops. Buy the ones that you really, really want to get. You know, I definitely want to get David Morrissey autograph. So if you know you want that for sure, then buy that in advance. So once you have that, you want to make sure you print out the smartphone barcode receipt and bring that with you, because that'll be one less line you have to wait in when you get to the Walker+stalker+con. All you have to do is take that receipt with you when you're doing your photographs, and they'll scan it and you're in. If you are not sure about autographs or photo ops, maybe you might want to add a few more on the spur of the moment when you're at the show, then bring lots of cash. I can't stress that enough. Bring cash with you, because you don't want to have to pay their service fees on their ATM machines. That way you can purchase autographs or photo ops at your leisure.
All right, so one last word about the photo ops. You want to schedule an hour in between each photo op. The reason is this makes it so you can go through the line, take the photograph, pick up your portrait, and then get into the next line. And if you do it this way, you're not going to feel pressured or rushed for time. Aside from the photo ops and the autographs, there's also the panels. And what the panel is, for those of you who don't know, you can have either an actor or a couple of actors or a group of actors from the show, in this case obviously The Walking Dead, and what happens is they start out being interviewed by somebody from the convention. And they are asked questions that sort of deepen our understanding of their characters or particular scenes in the show, or even themselves as people. And then after they've answered the questions from the professional, then you, the audience, are allowed to line up in front of a microphone, and you're allowed to ask them a question, and then they will answer the question. That's basically what a panel is. An additional note about the panel, though, is you really do want to pick one panel, at least one panel, that you want to go to. It will help to really enhance the experience for you, and it'll really help you kind of figure out your schedule.
Now that you have signed up for your photo ops and your autographs, and you know what panel you are going to be attending, maybe you're going to attend one day and another a second day, it is time to now schedule it in your smartphone. I recommend that you put it into your smartphone, like, okay, panels at 12 noon. Well, I would put it in at 11:50 so that you know when it's going to start. Photo ops, same thing, autographs. Plan out your days, whether it's 1 day or 2 days. Make note of it on your calendar with little reminder notes to go off, you know, those little alerts that will go off.
Mm-hmm.
So that you know what you need to be doing. It'll help to keep you organized. Okay, so now it's the day of the convention. It's the day of the convention, and we got up, 5 o'clock in the morning?
4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow, I don't think it was 4 o'clock. No, it was more.
It was 4 o'clock.
I don't think it was quite 4 o'clock, but we got up before the sunrise. That's all I'm going to say, to get ready to go to the convention, and driving into San Francisco. Of course, we didn't get any traffic, and we got there really early. In fact,
We got our parking for free.
We did. we got there. We got there so early that we were able to find a parking spot, and we didn't have to pay for parking. So yeah, that was definitely a perk to get there early. And 8 o'clock in the morning is when you can first pick up your wristband. So if you're going for 1 day, you're just going to get a wristband. If you're going for multiple days, you're going to get a lanyard.
Now, one of the things that we made it a point to do was we printed out our tickets beforehand, because when you purchase them, you can print them out. And so we brought that with us, and we turned that in for our lanyards. And you do want to purchase your tickets beforehand, because the Walker+stalker+con does have a tendency to sell out. So there's not really any buying the tickets on the day of.
If you want to get like VIP or multiple day passes, you're going to want to be buying it quite a bit in advance. I would say a couple months. You know, definitely don't wait, you know, till the last week or 2 weeks prior to try to buy your tickets. You may not be able to get in.
So, and then when you get there and you've gotten your lanyard, one of the things that we recommend you do is talk to the volunteers, find out what they feel is the best time to line up for the panel that you're interested in, and you know what time that they're seeing that you should line up for, like the photo ops, just in case there's any variations from what the survival guide tells you.
In fact, I did ask a volunteer. I said, hey, what time should I get in line for the panel? We're going to the 12 o'clock panel with the governor and Merle, you know, bad boys of Walking Dead.
Walking Dead.
They said 30 minutes, and I'm thinking maybe we should pad that time a little bit.
Since you're getting your wristband at 8 o'clock, and it doesn't open until 10:30, you know, again, we do recommend that you talk to the volunteers to find out the best times to line up for the panels and photo ops and stuff. But we also asked the best time to line up for just getting into the venue. Now, we were told that really half an hour before was fine. I'm going to say that I don't agree with that, because we got there at the half hour before like they recommended, and we were, you know, basically around the back side of the building. You know,
yeah, by the time we got there, I would say we were at the halfway point. We're at the midway point in the line, and that was, yeah, about 30 minutes before the entrance, before they opened up the...
My recommendation would be, based upon that, to get there about 45 minutes early. And the reason why I say that is because the size of the venue will dictate how many people are allowed in at a particular time. Fire marshal the law kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And if you're further back, then you stand a potential chance of this saying, all right, you got to wait because there's too many people in, and then they got to keep track of how many people come out so they know how many people they can let back in. If you're willing to be patient and wait a longer time and be at the front of the line, you're guaranteed to be in and get to see the stars that you want and so on. And additional point to that is if you're going to go for the autographs, then you're going to be able to get into the lines sooner so that you're going to be able to get your autograph and maybe your cell phone selfie with the actor much sooner. So I would recommend actually waiting that 45 minutes or to an hour to get in.
And also, definitely during the middle of the day, there will be lines to get into the different buildings, especially at the middle of the day, because that has the most maximum occupancy at that time. That is when the most people are attending the Walker+stalker convention. If you're not already in a building during the middle of the day, and we're talking about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you're going to be waiting in a line for a little bit to get into one of the pavilions where they had, it was various pavilions. They had, like, I believe 2 main pavilions, and then there was a photo ops section.
A good time to maybe schedule your photo ops or a panel so that you can kind of miss that crunch time.
If you have a set time to do an autograph, you need to make sure that you are in the building way in advance. We talked about maximum occupancy issues. That can happen during the middle of the day. So if your autograph time is scheduled during the middle of the day, you're going to want to make sure that you're in the building way in advance. And also consider the lines.
Another thing to consider is food. You're going to probably be at the event for the most of the day, if not all day. And they do provide food trucks, which have a variety of different flavors of food that are fairly good. However, I do want to point out, if you have some dietary restrictions like, I don't know, gluten or vegetarian or whatever, you may want to consider bringing your own food. Okay, one, it'll save you money, and two, it'll save you a whole lot of indigestion and abdominal discomfort.
Also, another time you could be having your lunch or snack is when you're waiting in lines. And so what you could do is, if you have a group of you going to the Walker+stalker convention together, you could have some of your friends off getting the food while you're waiting in line, and that way you can use your time a little better, especially if you're waiting for a panel. You can save a spot for your friends pretty easily. I mean, we had this dad in front of us. He was very cute. His daughter was in high school, and he was waiting there in the panel with us in the line, and his daughters came and joined him after they had been doing some autographs, and people were pretty cool about that. So
yeah. Now, one of the other things to note is people sometimes will come in costume, and if you decide you want to come in costume, especially if you're dressed like a zombie, by all means try and make your food look as much like a human body part as possible.
That would be pretty yummy.
Leg of Bob, good.
Chicken fingers, good. All right, now we're on to the fun stuff, like the panel. Who did we see again? David Morrissey and Michael Rooker. They were awesome.
They were really good.
They were
By the
really
way,
good.
David Morrissey for governor. Yes.
David Morrissey for the next Doctor Who.
Definitely. Let's get that campaign going.
Definitely.
For those of the Doctor Who fans out there, you get that. You understand what we're saying.
Oh, yeah.
So let's make it happen.
Yeah. We got there an hour. We waited in line for about an hour. Just one important note.
Don't try and be smart and go in on an earlier panel just so that, thinking you can just sort of stay in there. No, they clear the room. So if you do that, you're back at the way end of the
line for the next panel.
A little note, okay, so the panel before the one we went to was Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger himself.
Yes.
And we got to hear the entire panel because we arrived right as that panel went in. The last people from that panel went in. So we got to hear him. And it was a great show, but it made us realize that, if the person before is somebody who you kind of want to hear what they're saying, but you don't necessarily kind of have to really sort of see them, that's a great way of getting two panels for the price of one, as it were.
Yeah, so we were able to hear,
his stories and him talking about, and of course his Freddy Krueger laugh.
Oh yes, he did that quite a few times.
Kind of freaked out my daughter.
Yeah.
So, and then also actually because of where the line was and where he exited, we got to kind of see him, and he actually kind of flirted with Christina as he drove by in a Freddy Krueger sort of way.
Yeah, he told me to go take a nap.
That's Freddy Krueger flirting. Come on.
Yep, he told me to go take a nap.
That's his way of saying I'm going to come visit you.
Yeah.
If you know Freddy, I'm just saying.
That's right. All right, so moving on to our panel that we saw. We had great seats. We got in, and they came out right away. Michael Rooker, David Morrissey, and immediately people started getting in line to ask questions. So I got up, I went up, and I waited patiently in line. Yeah.
Now, their panel, they spent a lot of time focusing on the fight scene, the final fight scene between their two characters in the series. And for the fans of the show, you know the episode that we're talking about. And they talked about the scene where and they really talked a lot about the scene where the governor bit off the fingers.
Well, that was the question that I asked. I asked him, after a series of questions, I finally had my turn, and I asked them, let's back up a little bit. The questions that had come previously, most of them had been, well, there had been some that were funny, but some of the questions were kind of serious, talking about their character development, the fact that these guys are, they're not the nicest characters, but we love them anyway. And so I felt at times they were kind of having to defend themselves or defend their characters. It was really time for a very lighthearted question. I asked them, hey, while you were filming The Walking Dead, what were some of the more humorous moments that you had while filming? And that's when David Morrissey talked about
biting off Merle's fingers.
Yeah. And then after that, we were getting to the end of the panel. We only had maybe 15 minutes left. And so the questions were coming pretty quickly at that point. And it was a little shorter. They couldn't go as in depth with the answers to the questions.
They called it the lightning round. The
lightning round, yes. It was fun. It was definitely a huge, I think, of the whole convention, the panel was definitely the highlight of the event.
And it kind of gave us a chance to see their personalities of the actors a bit more, and then throughout the day we got to see it shine even more, especially Michael Rooker.
Yeah.
It was really fun to watch the way he interacted with his fans, even in the autograph lines, even when he was walking from the venue to the photo op. It really became apparent the man adores the fans.
He does. He really
appreciates.
He does. He appreciates where he is in life. You know, he's had to work hard to get where he's at as an actor, and you could tell that, you know, he's not taken for granted one bit. He really appreciates his fans, and he was hugging everybody and just really friendly.
Just very friendly, very outgoing with the fans. He wasn't shy of the fans at all.
No.
So, yeah, definite props.
Will you have been participating in the barbecue as a consumer or as an actual barbecuer?
You know, Merle is not an eater of human flesh, so that would never have happened, first off. And I think he would have probably stuck a knife in their brains and walked off.
Also, the great thing about the governor is you know that you've got a long time to tell your story. So, you know, you've got whatever it was, 16 episodes or whatever in one season. So it's easy, you can relax a little bit more, you know, in a way. Whereas and it was the Christmas special with Doctor Who, so you had to go for it really big. So they're both difficult, but I love both. They're very different though, really different. So it's always good to play different characters.
Right. After the panel, we had lunch, and then we had our photo op. And we first we took photo ops with Tyler James Williams.
For my daughter.
Yes, for our daughter. She doesn't watch the show. Well, she's 10, yeah, so we don't let her watch the show.
No.
But she really likes Noah, the character on The Walking Dead, because he is a Disney actor, and he was in Lab Rats. He plays a character. Well, he did play like a character in Lab Rats for one episode.
Basically, he played the main character's older version of himself coming back through time, and so Kaylin zeroed in on him right away. So we did the photo op with him, but we also then went and did Michael Rooker and David Morrissey joint photo op, and that was an interesting experience. One, because actually, so the actors themselves, Michael Rooker himself, kind of felt that they kind of had rushed it on that one, and so he said, no, do it again.
And I didn't know what was going on. It's like first we walk in, and they have a table where you like throw your stuff down, you walk over, you barely have any time to, like, you know, maybe put your arm around them and take a photo really fast, and then you're off. Like, you're grabbing your stuff and you're walking out. Next thing I know, I hear the photographer, and he's like, "Hey, come back, come back." And so then we come back, and of course, I'm like, "Woo, this is my opportunity to hang on."
I think
Michael Rooker.
Yeah, I don't think you mind if you look at the picture.
Nah.
If you look at the picture, he's not looking like he's suffering in that one.
I was like, "Woo, yay! I get another opportunity to like hug Michael Rooker. Come on, he's such a friendly guy. You know, he doesn't mind it at all.
Yeah, and actually, I took that opportunity. See, when we had the panel, I had originally gotten in line. If you watch the video, you'll see a head get in line and then get out of line. That was me. Because admittedly, I chickened out. Now I'm here on a video blog. Go figure. So the thing is the question I had wanted to ask, I decided to ask then, and I got the opportunity. And so I leaned over to David Morrissey and I said, if you had the opportunity to actually be the next Doctor in line, the real Doctor Who, would you do it? Would you take that role? And he didn't even hesitate when he said absolutely.
Yeah.
He definitely
that is
take
very
that
cool.
role.
Yeah, that was very cool
So,
to be able to actually ask him that question face to face. So
now a little side note also. Turns out, so I'm 6'4". I'm actually a fairly tall gentleman, and David Morrissey is taller than I am.
he's like about 6'5" at least.
He's 6'5", 6'6" or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is definitely a tall man. So
He's very formative. You would not want to like meet him in a dark alley.
no, he's a nice guy.
Yeah, definitely a nice guy. Ha ha.
But yeah, no. So all of a sudden, seeing him live, it now kind of makes more sense in how the governor was such a formidable character
Yes,
in the
definitely.
show. You know, and also seeing Michael Rooker sort of live and stuff, and getting a sense for sort of his size and his sort of gruffness. I mean, he's a nice guy, don't get me wrong, but he can definitely sort of come across as like, you know, a real formidable person. And so it definitely made it a little more real, I guess, that, you know, the characters really, you know, could have been as tough enough to survive in a zombie apocalypse. And so doing the photo op, it kind of gave me a chance to really be that up and close and personal with him to kind of gauge that, and it was kind of cool.
After we did our photo ops, we went to do some autographs with Scott Wilson, who is Herschel in The Walking Dead. We walked into the pavilion. By this point, it was later in the afternoon, so there was no line to get in. And his autograph booth section was right next to Michael Rooker's. When we were waiting in line, it was really fun to watch Scott Wilson meeting the fans, signing their photographs, or sometimes even little memorabilia, and just interacting with the fans. He was very warm,
He hugged everybody.
He did.
Every fan that came by to get an autograph or a photograph with him, he actually gave him a hug.
He did.
And it was he had a sincere look in his eyes as he was giving the hugs.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't like he was like, "I'll get ready next."
Yeah.
It was very sincere.
It was, and also since Michael Rooker was next to Scott Wilson, it was also fun just to peek over every so often and see what was going on over there, and it just confirmed to us just how warm-hearted Michael Rooker is. He was just hugging everybody as well, and so finally we had our turn, and while we were waiting in line, I was like, okay, what am I going to say to him? And Scott Wilson is just the lovable grandpa. You just want to squeeze his cheeks.
So she did.
No, I said it to him. I did. When I finally got up to him, I'm like, you know, I was so sad when Herschel died, and you're just the lovable grandpa. I just want to squeeze your cheeks, but of course I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to respect your personal space. He said, you know, well, it was a great run while it lasted. You could tell that he was kind of sad about the fact that he was no longer part of this wonderful cast. And so then we had our autograph signed. And
So the picture that we chose, though, to have, because he had a lot of pictures spread out, because he's had a very long, successful career. But the one we chose was the one with him and Beth.
Yes.
And we kind of admittedly avoided sort of, you know, going to Beth's line because we just weren't ready yet. It was just too close.
Yeah.
Too recent. They killed her off too soon.
Yes.
But we won't go there.
Yeah. He signed the autograph, and we took our picture with him. We used our camera that we brought. We paid extra for that. In fact, I almost forgot to give him a hug. Like, I saw that he was hugging people, but then he's like, hey, where's my hug? And I'm like, you know, I gave him a big hug.
Yeah, she almost dogged him. She almost dogged the grandpa. Yeah, you know he's not getting a Christmas gift.
Moving on to the vendors that we saw at the show. Yeah, we walked around, we checked out the vendors. I was more interested in shirts. I was looking for shirts, but we Found that a lot of the sizes that we wanted were sold out. If you're going both days, you definitely want to buy your shirts on the first day if you're going to be buying a shirt, because they sold out pretty quickly of the sizes that we liked. And one of the shirts I really liked was Kill Daryl, We Riot, or WW.
What would Daryl do?
Yes, what would Daryl do? WWDD, or what would Rick do? You know, WWRD. I love those shirts. I thought they were pretty cool.
The answer is shoot him. What would Daryl do? Shoot him.
Yeah.
So the shirt that I saw that was interesting to me, and actually Michael Rooker kind of was sort of joking about it at one point, was kill Daryl already.
He doesn't want to feel so lonely. He wants his brother back.
So now my experience with the vendors, because I in the past had gone to some comic book conventions and so on, so I was expecting there to be more of vendors there and a sort of a better variety of things. And so I felt that, you know, going forward, hopefully they can actually include more vendors, entice more vendors to take part in the event. They had a lot of artists there who had their own unique drawings that were Walking Dead related, but I kind of would like to have seen more memorabilia, so more of the action figures, more kind of things that look like the props used in the shows.
They did have
and
comic
stuff like that.
stores, like they had comic stores there, specialty clothing, jewelry. They also had makeup artists who you could pay to basically zombie you out, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, but they didn't have anybody there who was selling, like, you know, merchandise that kind of looked like some of the stuff used on the show, like Daryl's vest, or, you know, they had one person who was selling swords, and so you could buy a Michonne replica sword, but you couldn't necessarily buy, like, Rick's hat or any of the other things that would kind of really be, I guess, more meaningful for a fan of the show. Last bit of advice we want to give you, the last thing we want to say about the day, or 2 days, is really just enjoy yourself. Take some time to really take a look at the people who have come in costume. They do a great job.
Take pictures with them, and the cosplay people. Like, I was shocked at... There was people there who looked exactly like Herschel, exactly like Maggie, exactly like Glenn. I was just like, I was doing double takes. It was crazy, and it was very awesome. I don't know what you thought about that.
No, I thought they were really good, but I also thought the people who had done their own zombie makeup did a really good job. So there were different zombies. You know, you had a police zombie, you had like a medic zombie, and so on. Even if you're not in the person's autograph line, just really observe how that actor is when they're interacting with their fans, because I really felt that was an extra added bonus, an extra added element to the show.
It was, yeah, I agree. It was so cool that you could walk around. Like, we walked and checked out all the celebrities in their booths. We saw them interacting with the fans. Everyone was just so appreciative of the fans.
And then for the Doctor Who fans at this convention, because Doctor Who night, they also had a gentleman who was a David Tennant lookalike there with a replica of the TARDIS, letting people take pictures for donations, and whatever amount you wanted to donate, they accepted. And he looked really good. He was very friendly. Then the TARDIS replica looked really good. So it was just a great time all the way around. So have fun.
Yes. And they also have these wonderful little areas where they've set up backgrounds that you can take photographs in front of.
Like the Cyberman?
Yes.
From Doctor Who.
He took a picture in front of the Cyberman.
Freddy Krueger,
and some of the different walkers from the Walking Dead show.
Like the one from the well.
Yes.
The bloated, kind of gross-looking, broken half and fell half into the well. One.
Yes. Little girl from the very first episode. You could take a photograph with that little girl. Even it was just a replica. But, you know, it was really cool, these little scenes where you could pose with your friends and family and take photographs.
Yeah, friends and family and Freddy Krueger. Stuff the nightmares are made of.
Yes.
So have fun. And hopefully we'll see you at the next one.
The Walker+stalker San Francisco was awesome. Fanlanders away!